Welcome back. Thank you for joining me again. Get your tea or your coffee and your biscuits out and enjoy today's stories. Timestamps, as always, are in the description box. Let's get right to it. Story number 1. Opie writes, so my 22 female, boyfriend 24, has this friend, female 25, who moved in 4 months ago because she had nowhere to go. Now, I didn't mind having her as long as she respects our boundaries and the rules around the house, but that's definitely not it. She is very loud, comments on everything, and just does inappropriate stuff in general and excuses it for being a Latina. And that's just how they are. She doesn't help at all besides maybe cooking sometimes, but doesn't clean up the mess she makes, and she invites people over whenever she wants. She changes in the living room in front of us, literally took off her underwear, and I asked her to change in her room, but her excuse is that she was trying to feel like home. And then she suggested I should too, as it will strengthen my bond with my boyfriend. I talked to my boyfriend about how I'm kind of uncomfortable with this whole situation, and he told me not to overthink about it and that she's just very unbothered and cool. She always interrupted our time together and would sit between me and him during a movie or take my space while I take a toilet break, and she cuddles him in the most unfriendly way. And when I asked jokingly if she was trying to take my man, she would excuse it on her ethnicity, and that's how they grew up. So I knew I had to ruin this Friday night they had for them. I went up to them and she was all over him as usual. I called my boyfriend, and when he was about to get up, she said how it was their favorite part and that he could leave later. I insisted, but she kept pulling him. So I went and pulled him to our bedroom, discussed how what she's doing is really upsetting, and I no longer want her living with us. And he agreed I had the right, but that she has nowhere to go, and that I'll have to wait until she finds a job, which she's not even trying to get. While talking, she came and tried to open the door, which was locked. So she just started knocking, and we just ignored her until it got louder and he asked her to leave. But she got even louder and then started saying how I ruined the only time she gets with him, which obviously is not the case. I had enough at that point, but my boyfriend suggested he talk to her first. So he went and they took too long, like almost 2 hours. And I went to check on them and heard her telling him he shouldn't accept someone who ruins a friendship as a partner. And that is a big red flag and that he should kick me out. But this place is actually my property that I inherited from my aunt. And at that point I knew I had to kick her out. I didn't even ask with what conclusions they came up with and waited in the living room until they came out. And I just told her to look for another place and gave her 2 weeks max. She's been crying since yesterday, refusing to eat and not coming out of the room. And my boyfriend is saying I went overboard and I just hit a sensitive spot of hers, basically telling her to leave when she has no family or anywhere to go. So am I the a-hole? Opie, no, you are not the a-hole. It's quite obvious what this girl is trying to do, and she's been doing it for 4 months. She has a plan for her future that does not include you, but definitely includes your boyfriend. And the crying is just crocodile tears, manipulation. She can't be more transparent if she tried. The question is also, why does your boyfriend allow this? And Opie, you also said that she's not even looking for work. So she's been there 4 months. She doesn't have an income. Where is she getting money from? Who's paying her bills? Okay, we've got a comment with a reply from Opie before we get Opie's update. Not the a-hole. This is your property, correct? She has a nerve then to suggest to your boyfriend he kick you out. Opie replies, well, she didn't know it was my property. I guess she assumed we rented that place. Well, that explains a lot, Opie. I think she wanted you gone from the start. She's been manipulating and playing up to your boyfriend because she's under the impression that he has the power to kick you out. Let's get Opie's update. Thank you everyone for the advice and helping me open an eye on the real issue. It was past midnight when I posted that, and my life literally took 180 in less than 24 hours. It has been overwhelming, and I didn't expect this would reach many people. The comments were like a slap in the face I really needed. Apparently, I was too blind. Yeah, I guess my boyfriend isn't who I thought he was. He has been trying to give her food, tried to calm her down, and literally took a day off from college and work. He goes on Sundays too, which he never did for me. And he never even gets days off from his classes unless really necessary with proof, nursing. I don't know how he managed to get a day off. I really wanted to make sure it is what it looks like before deciding my next move. I prepared lunch way before time and asked him if he was around for lunch, and his response, quote, "I'm trying to get her to have breakfast, and you're talking about lunch. You're becoming unrecognizable," unquote. Yeah, I didn't know what to reply, so I just asked again. But he said we can have lunch together if she's willing to join us, as it is rude if we eat without her. At this point, I felt like crap, to be honest, and asked him why was she so important that he cancelled all his plans just to support her emotionally, which he never did when I went through things myself, but he just left like that. I invited my guy friend over, which he doesn't like, and I explained to him our situation and just asked him to be comfortable. I didn't want to do the cuddling stuff like them because we didn't break up yet at that point, and it was weird anyways because we don't usually. My boyfriend never realized someone was over until he came to take food and he saw us having lunch together, and he just gave me a look, said hi, and was going to take some for themselves until he realized it was a creamy rice casserole, which his friend doesn't like. And yeah, I did that on purpose. And chicken roast with some sides, and he literally glared at me and said, "You know she doesn't eat that." And I just replied, quote, "Well, it's not her who I made it for," unquote. Then he threw the plate, started shouting, asking what the F was wrong with me, and that he wishes he never dated me. It was so scary my friend got involved. They got aggressive, and I just asked him to leave with his other girlfriend, which he replied with, quote, "Oh, so you're replacing me that fast," unquote. But I told him he was the one who has replaced me a long time ago, but I was too dumb to realize. He actually moved in fully when his friend came, and colleges here do provide dorms. But of course, it's not like she can live with him, and I couldn't care less anymore. Also, no legal action is required for someone you haven't signed papers with where I live. They were just guests. I packed his things for him, which aren't a lot, and left it by the front door. He came crying and apologizing and acknowledging what he did was wrong and just other BS I didn't want to hear because the damage was already done. My friend was of great support, and he dealt with everything else as I cried my eyes out in my room. And that sums up how I went through my first heartbreak. And it was my first relationship, and I did love him. But I guess I can watch, eat, and do anything now without catering to anyone's needs. I'm changing the locks tomorrow morning, and we're ordering fried chicken, apparently a proven heartbreak remedy by my friend. And although her excuse was bringing up her race, I know better than that. Thank you all for the support. Well, OP, I love a story like that. This girl thought she had everything planned, everything sorted, and the whole thing backfired on her because she didn't realize it was your property. So long to her and so long to your ex-boyfriend. OP, you are very fortunate to already own a home at your age, so don't let anybody ever spoil that for you again. Let's move on to story number 2. OP writes, "Last night, my 35 male, fiancé 38 female, left in the evening to give a friend's son a ride back to his home. She implied she'd be home before 9. She left around 7:45. 10:15 rolled around, and she still wasn't home. I texted and she apologized to me, saying that her friend's son was actually in the next town over, maybe 30 minutes away, and she was coming home now. 11:45 rolled around and she still hadn't come home, so I called her to no answer. Texted her to no response. I was getting very upset. 12:30 rolled around and still no response and no answer to my phone calls. I was extremely angry. 1:30 rolled around and my anger had completely transformed into worry. Not answering my calls and texts not read. Around 1:45, I called the police. I've always heard that the first 24 hours of someone being missing is the most important, so I didn't want to delay. I asked them to let me know if there had been any traffic accidents involving her car, and the operator told me that they would put out the word and send some cops to check along the route she would travel. I called all the hospitals in the area to check if she had been checked in, and I waited outside watching the road for her car for 3 hours. Partially because I didn't want the kids to hear me on the phone with hospitals, and secondly, because I was sick with worry. At 7 a.m., she came home. She apologized for being out and said she had no excuse. She was driving home and felt tired, like she was falling asleep at the wheel. So she pulled over the side of the road to sleep. When she did that, she found that her brand new phone had stopped working. She says she napped anyway because it was the responsible thing to do, and then came home at 7 a.m. to bring the kids to school and get to work on time. I immediately called the police and told them that she had come home safely, and gave them the case number and told them to stop searching, which they did. My fiancé brought the kids to school and left for work. I set out to start cleaning. Cleaning distresses me sometimes. And I got a call from a policeman asking where she worked. I told him and asked why, and I was informed that it was their policy to check on the person's wellness after a missing person is found. I asked them to not go by her work, but to give her a call instead. He said he couldn't promise. My fiancé is relatively new to her job. A police officer showed up and asked to speak with her. She is now enraged at me for calling the police and, quote, sending a cop to her work, unquote, and making her look bad. She is saying I overreacted and that she wasn't missing and that I was punishing her for doing the responsible thing and not driving while drowsy. She is saying that she is never going to leave the house again except for work because she is afraid I'm going to call the cops on her again. So did I overreact? Should I have waited 2 days, like she suggests? OP, too many twists and turns, and you know things don't add up. Let's get a couple of comments with replies from OP. Not the a-hole, but you know she's lying, right? OP replies, I do suspect that the story isn't truthful, but she doesn't really have a history of lying to me, so I've been trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. And somebody else says, not the a-hole, but you know that isn't the truth, right? OP replies, I did ask her about why her brand new phone stopped working, and she eventually confessed she dropped it in a puddle, but when she got home it seemed to be working. Edit. I think this would be more believable if it had rained in the last few weeks. Edit 2. My fiancé has informed me that she was embarrassed, but the truth is that she dropped it in the toilet, not a puddle. Well, OP, the plot thickens. So let's get OP's update. First of all, thank you to those of you who offered kind words and solid advice. This update is likely to disappoint some of you as it does me. My fiancé and I have been fighting solidly since before I posted my last thread. It's been exhausting. I called her out on her obvious lie, and she fumed at how awful I was for calling her a liar. From then on, it was as if she was falling down a smooth well, desperately clawing and grabbing at anything she could to blame me for as she went deeper and deeper. I'm not a perfect man, but in this particular situation, I was an angel, so she had nothing to grab onto. I did a lot of soul searching, and I made a call that most of you will hate. I decided to bury the hatchet. I love her very, very dearly. I had no proof of a lie, and I wasn't too concerned about what she was really up to anyway. Our relationship is open, So even if she messed around, I didn't care much. She still fought with me though. The fight continued to the point where she, quote, broke up with me, unquote, but not really, which was a common tactic she had used before. I called her on it, and she fought with me still. I asked for space for a night so I could sleep off the exhaustion, and she got upset and told me I was neglectful and selfish for not going to her and making up in person. I am stupid. I am aware of it. Even through all of this, I was apparently able to believe that what she said in emotion wasn't really her talking. Today I was having lunch. Money has been tight lately for some reason. Weird. So I flipped through my wallet to find my credit card, which was missing. Well, you see where this goes. She had stolen it. She cited our desire to join lives together and merge finances, and that when I lent her my wallet once, she took it so she wouldn't have to bother me by asking again. This credit card is mine, under my name and for emergencies only. She was using it for the last month and a half. While she has been decent enough to pay back some of it, there was still a $1,500 balance on it that hasn't been paid. She says it's hers just as much as mine and resents me calling her a thief. A lot of the uses were spent on ATMs for cash withdrawals and some interesting ones at the casino. Those of you who guessed gambling were probably right on the money. At that point, I admit I lost it. I am a very calm person, but there was only so much denial of reality that I could take. It's still blurry, but I said a lot of horrible things to her, and I am in the process of evicting her from my life. I am cancelling everything that is in my name that she is a part of, including the new phone line, cancelling her car insurance, and reclaiming my car that I gave her and she has trashed. Apparently, I can handle lies, cheating, and secrets. But who knew theft was my line? Learning experience. Now, thinking back, I can identify lots of sketchy crap that my love goggles blinded me to, but there's a pretty strict character limit. Opie, there were some twists and turns there in your story. I wasn't quite sure what was going on, but the truth came out, and the truth always comes out. Sometimes it takes a while, but it always comes out. I really hope she repays you the money she still owes. Well, that's it for this edition. Thank you for allowing me to keep you company. If you enjoyed these stories, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, leave a comment, and I'll see you again soon.